Yeah, and I think that's where for Alpha, it's going to be really easy to tell when things are starting to look grim because if they can get away with just rolling the guy with the BKB, it's where Alpha need another monster. They need another hero to either cause space or take the space when the Primal Beast ends up eating one of those spells. It's where we need another really big hero. Not to mention as well, Primal Beast not one of those offlaners that helps you get buildings, helps you get objectives, helps you get the Roche. So it's where we need one of those super carries either in the mid or the safe lane. Need a little bit of physical damage right now in the lineup. Or NoRunes, again, keep the pattern of South American teams picking up Hoodwink as their 4th position. A little bit of a resurgence. Kind of happy to see it. It's a real fun hero. Never really got bad numbers-wise, but certainly shifted out of the meta for a while. But SA's bringing it back. And then, of course, they pair it with Mr. Jean's Spirit. Love it.
Not quite the storm that we've seen him put on a couple of times over the last few days, which always is kind of the most exciting hero player combo for Mr. Jeans, but the Void Spirit's going to be, well, I don't know if I want to say just as good, but it's going to play a similar style. It's going to allow him to be a playmaker in a roster that already looked like it was going to be very, very active.
Yeah, and it is very brave. Really, you do not see teams picking up their mid laner in that position for the exact reason that Alpha have 2 picks to then almost directly counter out the lane. So it's a very bold pick for NoRunes, considering as well that they already see the Primal Beast Rubik. So what could be their off lane, it's where not leading with the carry is certainly a calculated risk. And we'll have to see if maybe Mini's got an idea in the back of his head, but now, plain and simple, has to play something that's going to deal with the TA. And if it is TA versus Void Spirit mid, isn't the worst of matchups, but is definitely going to put a lot of pressure on the Void Spirit. Just farm-wise, TA just does more damage, doesn't really get through the refraction either, unless Void Spirit catches you in a creep wave. So it's very annoying if this is just going to be the direct TA versus Void counter. It's where I think now in Mini's hero, this is where you're going to look at those illusion carries. It's where you're going to look at the TB, the Naga, anybody who buys Scotty. It's where you're just going to try and invalidate the TA at this point. But great pick for Alpha.
hmm Looking pretty good to be able to pick it up there. And then, well, we get led into the final phase of the bans. NoRunes start us off with the Pudge ban, which we did sort of touch on that earlier on in the event, ET. It's just nice to see that the Pudge is a legitimate sort of hero at this point competitively, right? To the point where a team has to ban it away. So, no Pudge. Meanwhile, on the Alpha side of things, they're taking a little bit of time to think this one over. So, well, you pointed out those sort of illusion carries were kind of on the table here coming into the final phase of bans. Instead, they go with the Ursa, which I suppose is something maybe Alpha were doing their homework. Last couple of times out, we've seen Mini on things like the Monkey King, which was banned, on the Troll Warlord, on heroes whose timing window maybe is a little bit further forward than some other carry options.
Yeah, and I think really just keeping the theme of protecting the Primal Beast in the off lane, because all of those heroes do a really nice job of just stopping anything the Primal Beast wants to do. Anybody that can really easily disengage from that trample is going to be higher up the list of value. But I think that's where, maybe we see it. I think the easy one would maybe seeing a respect ban on like the Drown Ranger, because again, anything that's going to now shift the objective over to that TA is going to make the game hard. Because at the end of the day, Primal Beast is not the win condition. He can make space, he can be incredibly farmed, he can get an early BKB. That's great, but heroes like the TA and the last pick for Alpha are the ones that are going to end up winning the game for them. And I think that's where should probably keep that focus, even though you're right on the money. Troll gets
Yep.
banned out as well. And we see Novus
Oh,
go for the Morph.
okay.
Very exciting pick. Great lane as well with the Treant, just has the Protector. And that's an instant pick Tiny.
Hmm.
And then I guess they swap up the lanes because Tiny carry is not a thing. And I think, yeah, I think that is going to be Snow taking it mid. Of course, players we haven't seen before in the lobby, but
Right.
I think this should just be now a TACM lane and then just the Tiny going mid. So throwing away the TA versus Void Spirit matchup, but getting some really nice damage in their Tiny, even though Tiny's, again, we're kind of back in that phase where Tiny's mid are feast or famine. We're either seeing them really get off to the gates and get really early blink daggers and then just wiping the game or kind of falling flat in their face.
Yeah. At least the good news here, you saw the Tiny mid against the Void Spirit. Mr. Jeans should not have a crazy amount of kill potential there, right? His burst against someone who has the HP of a Tiny should really not be enough unless Snow is significantly out of position.
Yeah, no, it's really stable lane, really safe lane, especially once he hits level 6. And then, you get your Blink Dagger 12, 13 minutes into the game. It's where I think Hoodwink needs to be real careful. It's a real easy game to die, and you will die.
Mhm.
If they get on top of you, that's just going to be it. It's also where I think New Aegis is going to have to be real careful when it comes to defending that top tower because they've got Tiny, they've got Primal Beast, all of these super strong strength heroes going underneath those tier ones. It's where one or two quick deaths, it's not going to be fun. Of course, though, as we talk about with heroes like Tiny, it's a one-way road. It's a one-way street. If you avatar somebody, they don't die, they, let's say, get the overgrowth off, versus heroes like Beastmaster, you get stuck, you get slowed up by the boars, you die after your initiation if you do fail on that initial hit.
Yeah, you have got to be able to have, oh, the execution. As we always kind of say, it's become a cliche at this point, but every cliche has, that little bit of truth to it, right? There's a reason why we say it so much that it becomes cliche. You have to hit on the execution. But honestly, ET, I'm just happy. We get to see the Morphling here in Minnie's hands. The Morph is,
I
well,
pity
I'm
your
sure a lot of
meager
people would rather
perspective.
not see it anymore, but the caliber of players who get to actually run it in North and South America always ensures that we're going to have something fun.
Yeah, and I think Mini, of course, one of the most solid carries in the region. It's gonna try and prove us that maybe while his recent results haven't been too great, is gonna try to get back to form a little bit here. Because really, having a player like Mini who's confident on the hero, you just gotta abuse it. It's where teams like X Hikori, like Beast Coast, like EG, they always have this pocket pick in the back of your heads, and then you just start winning games. It's just as simple as that. It's a huge draft advantage here as well. Because again, you survive the lanes, and then you can pretty much outcarry any hero in the game. And that's kind of the case right here. It's where the matchup really doesn't get much better for Kid. It's where we're constantly going to need to see that TA with the net worth advantage. And as soon as she starts to fall behind, again, the game starts to look questionable. And that's where the Morph will just straight up win that matchup.
Especially if that Morphling, you know, starts maybe taking some stats away even from the Templar Assassin, so gonna have to be very careful as we have everybody back into the server. We are getting things underway. Do want to give you a reminder about what's at stake here. This is the upper bracket finals of Group B here with our GSL style groups, I suppose is the name for it. Either way, the winner of this series punches their ticket to Phase 2. The loser gets a second
This
chance tomorrow,
pleases me
right?
to
They play
no
up against Ravens, but you want to get it on your first try, and we'll see which of these two teams comes out first in this best of three, because I don't know the exact stats on it, ET, but much like, most of other traditional sports, if you take that opening game, your chances of taking the series overall kind of skyrockets.
Mm-hmm. Gotta be real careful as I'm kind of looking at the drawing on the mini map, and Mini's just showing us where it is, kind of chilling. But I think pretty simply, we just see the 2-2 split here. Don't see really any forms of aggression, even though Mini's kind of hiding himself really, really hard. I guess doesn't want to get stuck in between his towers, as we've seen some Morphlings get trapped in the past, where you just end up getting right-clicked, have to TP early. Not a pretty situation. And looking over at Noaegis, he just got the boots first. He's got the right item build. I think in the lane that he's going to be in is not really going to be tanking too much damage. It's actually just going to straight up outrun the Primal Beast. So a lot of that trample damage is going to get wasted. And look at this. Noaegis is about to go to Pound Town here on Tiger.
Mm. And your Crystal Maiden, already not the fastest hero in the world, but now you're dealing with a Treant Protector with boots, now the slow on top. Can they get Jupiter in for the Bushwhack? Yes, they can, and that is the saddest first blood I think I've ever seen.
You know?
Oof.
It's
Unfortunate.
the way it goes. It's the way it goes. Tree is just too good, just too powerful. Mini maybe suffered for a second there. It was getting hit by a Rubik without any contest, but it doesn't matter. Now Crawler,
Mm-hmm.
oh, he's blocked. Nice, nice. Very good tango. Doesn't get that tango. The body block continues, and then he goes down there, but is barely able to get us out of that situation. That was pretty close.
That could have legitimately been a death for him with only one or two more hits, so well played. Cuts his way out. He's holding a sentry here as well to... I don't know if he's going to use it to try and just block a camp at this point, but Not committing it too early as Satoshi says, okay, yeah, screw your tree line, cutting it all down, trying to take some of Nuagas' agency away, but the tree doesn't give up. Just keeps on punching away, and 91 base damage, ET. It hurts.
No, it is not fun. It's something that not even the Fade Bolt can really help all too much with. It's also where the couriers are just getting through, and now that Mini's level 2, the adaptive strike spam will begin. It's where Satoshi, really, he can be tanky. He's got 920 HP, he's got a bracer, but the magic damage and just the physical harass, it's just ever present. It's always going to mean that he's never really going to want to commit for a kill unless he knows he can get it.
That's unfortunately one of the strengths that we always talk about with the Primal Beasts in these lanes, right? You hit that sort of level 3, level 4 kind of territory, and you're supposed to be able to just go in and bully someone, and, well, that someone may not be Mini. Onto Nuagas, maybe, but there's where we talk about the Boots first build again, right? He's going to have that little bit of extra speed, and between that, between the slow, between maybe the knockback from the adaptive, don't really know if Satoshi's going to want to risk it at all.
No, it's going to be, again, that waiting game. And eventually, the damage will be enough that Satoshi could maybe even just go for some creep pulls. But in the meantime, stack goes off in the small camp. A pull goes off. They end up farming most of it. But Mini is fine. But actually, it's top. Get a little bit of a revenge kill. No courier coming out either. Hoodwink just got a little bit too low. Had South Tangos, though. He was ready to stay in that lane. At least Heiko hasn't really been pressured in the slightest on this Beastmaster, but still kind of a random kill to give up.
Yeah, he had a Fairy Fire that he popped there, just thought that was going to be enough, and then Tiger had the right click from just the stupidest range ever to actually connect, so ties us up at 1-1. As you said, Heiko still having a good time, though. Not really that big of a deal in the early stages, but, well, you didn't pick this Hoodwink to be passive, right? So Jupiter's going to have to make some moves here. For now, he is trying to mess with the pull, steal a little bit of it, get Heiko over to take some more, and now they've got creep aggro, and Tiger, yeah, not really a whole lot you can do about this one. Just has to watch his creeps walk away.
Yep. And with the Hoodwink actually teeping back to the lane, gets to the deposit the Helm of Iron Will, and really, Heiko is off to the races. He's also been stacking for himself with his boar, as we typically see. He's already making that triangle look pretty scary. A triangle that he will also just get the farm. Completely selfish here for the Beastmaster, but just because he knows he can farm it with the axe build, that's where we're at finally with Beastmaster. Just, again, the hero somehow gets more efficient, even though we're this late into Dota.
Meanwhile, mid, the Jupiter did make the rotation in alongside Mr. Jeans to go for Snow, but this is a little bit of what we were talking about with this switch up, right? Tiny's got 1080 HP, and I think technically speaking, Crawler was kind of around, didn't use any spells, but his presence makes this a little bit more complicated as Jupiter tried for the Bushwhack and did not get it. Now he might be in some trouble as Satoshi, well, makes a 1-for-1 trade down in that bottom lane. Mini is able to clean him up afterwards, but he does have to sacrifice his Treant, and well, back in the mid lane, nothing came of that dive ET, but a 1-for-1 bot that NoRunes are going to be happy with.
Yeah, and not really the trade you really wanted to see. Not to mention, the creep wave already pushed underneath the tower, so loses out on 3 or 4 of those creeps in their entirety. And Mini's now level 5.5. He has just skyrocketed. That is just not what you want to see. And really, it felt kind of empty, because when Crawler went mid, it's not like the Tiny had any mana. So at the end of the day, the bully still ended up happening. And all it takes is a little bit of space, and then suddenly Morph really starts to get out of control. Mini also has a bracer, interestingly enough. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Okay. So maybe showing a little bit of respect to that charge in from the Primal Beast, right? Just making sure a little bit more health, a little bit more stats to rely upon if you are trying to sort of manage. Because right now, he is just about on max Agi, so you never want to be that guy. You never want to be that morphing player who gets super greedy and then just gets almost accidentally killed. In the meantime, still seeing a lot of presence here from these supports. Obviously, 6 minutes coming up here, so the runes are spawning. But even between the rune spawns, ET, you know, you've had Jupiter checking in, Tigers come over a couple of times, so haven't really seen any kills or any significant fighting in this lane, but everybody's kind of anticipating maybe something develops here.
Yeah, and during all that as well, Mr. Jeans very quietly but consistently is just pulled ahead XP-wise, gets a 6 before the Tiny. Honestly, has pretty decent kill threat until Snow gets his level 6 because he's still a 0 armor hero. But unfortunately, has an illusion rune. Pretty much the worst rune you could expect for 6 minutes. Just very passive,
He's
even
going
though
for it,
he's
though.
making the hurt. Yeah, he's not letting Snow lane. This is just complete bullying. There's just not much the Tiny can do except for bottle up and hope for the best, but this is where maybe if they get the Hoodwink over, we'll see that rotation. But instead, NoRunes decide, give Heiko the stack. He'll start farming it up. We'll have enough gold for his Home of the Dominator, and then give Soul XP to Hoodwink. They're just playing the map better. I think they're going to get to an early, maybe 2K gold lead early on. They're just doing everything they can to get this net worth and XP rolling.
Oh, Mr. Jeans might be in some trouble here, though. Gets rooted up after the Avatos. He does have enough mana for the Dissimulate now, though, so he should be okay. Just able to walk it out there, but again, those supports are ready, right? Tiger was just kind of holding in the area, and, well, he may not have been able to get the kill, but he helps his teammate out a little bit. He could, I say, maybe stack again if he wants to stick around in the jungle that long, but, yeah, 30 seconds away from the timer, so instead, Tiger goes back up top, but at this point, ET Kid doesn't really need a whole lot of help. With the Beastmaster having rotated away to farm those stacks, your TA is free farming.
Yeah, and that's really, I think, the best thing happening for Alpha right now. Primo's lane is also calmed down, still kind of working for his levels, but the TA is untouched. Of course, untouched for now, because as soon as that stack is farmed, Ico's going to pick up a creep and then start getting this game rolling. It's also where, again, they lose that river control, so Mr. Jeans now has a DD rune, and this is a rune that he can make a play with. I think it's where in the next few minutes, probably around that 10-minute mark, we see that cart spawn up, we see that top tower fall, and that's where we're probably going to see our first big skirmish.
Oh, that's interesting. Minion and Nuagas just try to go in and take the tower. I'm not sure they realized the Primal Beast was 6. He popped the Pulverize onto Mini, which obviously is not going to be enough to kill him, but it prevents him from taking the tower. They get onto the Treant Protector instead, and now all of a sudden, this is kind of an awkward spot. Mini, I'm not sure he realizes that there was a third hero rotating in, and he is getting rooted up here, taking a fair bit of damage, but the rest of that trio did not make it over in time. So now Mini knows what's up. He's going to fall back. His Treant Protector's TPing back into lane for him. All is well on that front. But over in the middle lane, Mr. Jeans is trying to make his move. DD Rune activated, looking for Snow, but, well, he already kind of missed with two of those spells, so this really isn't going to develop into what they wanted, even with the double damage.
Yeah, unfortunately, missed the Astro Step there, but still would have been a close kill regardless, but is still putting fantastic pressure on the Tiny. Not even close to his blank right now. He's going to need a good few more creep waves in a situation where, again, during all that, the Beastmaster just rotates towards top. That tower pressure is going to be made, and they're going to have to abandon TA territory. They're already starting to move the TA into the Ancients, which is no mistake, but just means that a lot of these fights that could probably happen up here are just not going to happen. Instead, they're going bottom. NoRunes are looking for an even bigger fight.
This is getting complicated, though. They're pushing their way onto Naugus, but he is getting locked down. TP's coming in. Mr. Jeans wants into the fight. Who does he actually target, though? He's going to go after the Primal first, so Satoshi will go down. But by going after that target, the furthest one south, it does allow the rest of Alpha to fall back, ET, but core for support. Right, if you're NoRunes, you're okay with that. Mini lives, gets gold, and all is well for the time being.
Yeah, could be a lot worse. I think losing the Primal is still mildly unfortunate, but after a Bushwhack that great, not losing either support is also just fine. Even though supports on Alpha are really starting to struggle for XP, it's where both the Primal and the Tiny are just sapping pretty much everything. It's where they do need to get their levels somewhere, but they just don't have a free spot just yet.
Satoshi made his way top, so just trying to deal with Heiko solo, and I don't know. If he gets up the axes, if he gets the roar onto him, he could kill the Primal potentially by himself, so Satoshi does kind of have to be careful, and now Tower getting pressured up. There really isn't a whole lot for him to do here.
Yeah, is just kind of in the wrong lane, I think. A lane that is empty, of course, because the Tia had moved off, and he will get some nice farm, even though that was him just going in, and he does need a little bit of help, but help is on the way, and yeah, Satoshi.
Don't know about the judgment on that one. His TP was very much out of the picture. So I think he just underestimated both the damage that Heiko had and the potential help that was coming to the lane.
Yeah, and these heroes, we're starting to get a little bit crunched here. Tiny is still playing bottom. TA is completely taken over mid. And again, the TA is farming greatly, but there's no real safe haven top. And they're trying yet again for Mini, but this is really the difference. The TA rotates out and loses her tower to the Beastmaster. Mini is going to continue to anchor this down because it presents opportunities for his teammates. And look at this. Smoke not even looking for the fight. They're looking for the TA rotating in and out of the jungle. And that's about the worst way that could have popped, but they get the CM kill regardless.
Looks like Jupiter may go down as well. Oh, maybe not. Bushwhack coming into play. Scurry move speed allows him to, for the most part, kind of counterbalance the trap slow, but that means Mr. Jeans is the one in trouble. 1 second for Dissimulate, but the Avalanche caught him out first. And that goes remarkably well for Alpha, right? The smoke pops in a very unfortunate manner. They trade a core for a support. Another core kill up top, though, as Satoshi gets his revenge. But this time it's a true 1v1 for the Primal Beast, and he wins it.
Yep, just already catches the Beastmaster slightly low, but also catches him when he doesn't have a creep because he didn't actually lock his Helm of the Dominator, so became Helm of the Overlord, lost his creep, had no way to stop the Pulverize, and that's all she wrote. Even though there is a 12-minute Helm of the Overlord in this game, which is pretty ridiculous from Heiko, and Mini got the tier 1 bottom, so really still pretty happy, even though Mini does not want to lose his life. Don't know if he's going to be forced into it, but this TA trap is causing some problems.
Crawler steals waveform, tried to keep the chase going, but at this point, yeah. If they didn't see those TPs, they at least suspect that they're coming in. And Jupiter's playing up very far forward here, but he does his job, right? He makes sure Alpha is not going to chase, and Mini gets the tower and gets away with it. You have a pause, though.
A little bit of packet loss. You know, it's whatever. But I think, honestly, even though it was only 2 kills, of course, being just the Void Spirit and the Beastmaster, those 2 deaths kind of fixed Alpha's game. Now, Snow, of course, getting the kill into the Void Spirit mid with the TA is only sitting 400 gold away from the Blink Dagger. And with the Beastmaster previously going down top, Satoshi is only 1 component away from BKB. The cores that were really starting to fall behind really aren't. And of course, the TA who never fell behind is still looking at incredible timings. It's where Alpha, really, everything is starting to sync together. They've got this one crazy early game timing where you've got full Deso on the TA, you've got the Blink Dagger on Tiny, and if they find any pickoffs on that top side of the map, well, that's first Roche for TA, and then Alpha are really looking for that easy victory.
They've got a window of opportunity here. We'll see whether they can take advantage of it, because on the other side, as you pointed out, right, early Helm of the Overlord, Mini's working his way towards the Manta style, so you're ahead. Now, well, now is the time to use that advantage on your cores. Otherwise, you know, the window can close a little bit. Then you're looking at something a little bit more maybe evenly matched, and, well, they can certainly still win that fight, ET. I think they'd rather take it when the odds are favoring them.
Oh, and of course, same fashion, if NoRunes find any amount of pickoffs whenever Alpha do go for that inevitable play with the Helm of the Overlord, that is also just going to be their Roche. It's where really in the pit, it's quite a high stakes match still. And actually, Heiko is just looking to do it himself. Okay, sure. I mean, axes still stack. It's why this hero is so fearsome. I mean, he can afford to do this, but look at that in the river. They see Snow. Nothing.
Drop the roar.
Just one trap to help him.
Oh, he didn't steal the roar. Oh, I thought he had the timing AT, but instead he just takes axes, so there's going to be Snow picked off. That does stop the Roche attempt from Heiko at least, but now he can turn his attention to a tier 1 tower that may not last very long if they get a concentrated push onto it, especially now with Tiger being taken down. A second defender finished off. Overgrowth even popped to the north as Nuaga's... I thought he was going to suicide there, but he's actually walking away. His teammates are trying to close the gap, looking to get onto Satoshi. And they should be able to finish him off here, and all of a sudden, this is turning into a disaster. Alpha have lost 3 to maybe 4, because Crawler... he's caught by the Bushwhack, but at this point, it's a little bit too far for NoRunes to go for. But hey, I mean, they got 3 kills out of that for, realistically speaking, very little. That was Roar popped and Overgrowth used, but neither one of those are on a crazy long cooldown right now.
They do not want to lose this building, though, and they
Right.
are very well situated. Again, the Tiny doesn't have his Blink Dagger, but this is the Deso timing. And of course, with the Overgrowth already spent, really, there's nothing for the TA to fear in this situation, even though they really don't want to give up this tower. Tycho's marching over his Ancient Creep, but think this is just going to be too late. Tries to go for the deny, but simply too much damage that the TA has at this point, even though they're still looking for this play. Great vision, but aren't able to connect on anyone. Oh, they're trying for Jupiter? Okay.
The Avalanche just clipped him. Can they get any sort of toss? Well, no toss, but they do have Pulverize, so Jupiter will go down. And if you're Alpha, perfect response. Yeah, you dropped a couple of heroes, unfortunate, but they regroup, they take the tower, they find a kill. And now the Southside jungle is not quite wide open, but very much accessible for them. They do have the ward up. Unfortunately, I think their sentry, yeah, it just missed the NoRunes ward in here, so they're not entirely safe, but see Kid already taking advantage, pushing through, taking some camps, working his way towards the Blink Dagger, so he is not slowing down.
Oh, and look at that. Okay. Got Mini. Just wasn't prepared for that play to happen and then gets punished. Just too much burst damage. And the wild axis from Crawler. I mean, Rubik with 2 nukes already feels amazing, but with that specifically, just has a little bit too much of his own damage amp. Just one of those funny Rubik interactions. Even though this is pretty sad and pretty funny, but Heiko has just sold Roche. Doesn't want the Aegis. Yeah, is going to gift it over to his Void Spirit. Would have loved it on the Morphling, but, well, the TA is not getting the Aegis now, at least.
Yeah, no matter who you put it on NoRunes, it's better than letting the other team have it. And Mr. Jeans may look to put it to use right away. I don't know about this. Onto Crawler, sure, maybe you get this quickly, but that's even really kind of questionable at this point. He's got one last Astral Step, but if he goes in ET, he has no way back out. So he does decide not to pursue it. Over in the middle lane, though, Tiger, is he getting away? No, he's not. Bushwhack's going to hit him up. Axes fly through. Well, he's not dead yet, and here comes Satoshi charging his way in. Takes a roar to the face for his trouble, but Snow, able to blink, able to finish the job, and, well, that goes pretty well again for Alpha. That's now roar on cooldown for a bit over a minute, so Alpha's starting to make some plays here. Still down 2k gold, but looking good.
Yeah, and I think Jupiter just looking for a few too many of those plays is getting picked off a pretty decent amount of the time, but you know, it could be worse. It could be much worse, and at least it's not the Beastmaster that's dying in those situations. It's where Alpha, I think, now they have even more damage in the jump. There's a full Blink Dagger on the TA, so really Kid can encapsulate on any lockdown that ends up landing, but I think this is also where both teams are maybe not looking to fight each other, but instead just looking for their own little pushes. Of course, Glyph forced out of Dire first, meaning that Alpha are the ones that are going to have to react a little bit faster to this tier 2 pressure top. But at the same time, it looks like both teams are just looking to trade damage onto these tier 2s.
Yeah, not looking for confrontation at the moment, but, well, objectives traded out. That living armor, yeah, I mean, technically speaking, it's helping, but against the Deso on the Templar Assassin, I don't know how much it's going to work, although, take a look back to the other side, yeah. They aren't content with just a tower trade. They're going to look to pressure, and they can hit this tier 3 pretty hard, pretty fast. Take a look at it right now. It's already down to about half HP. Crawler's the only one back right now, and that was a decent attempt with the taunt there to pull somebody off the tower. Instead, it only hits an illusion, and now the glyph comes through again, but look at the tower's health. It just got hit so hard, and NoRunes are going in again. They really just have no fear right now. With Mr. Jeans having the Aegis, they don't really need to be all that afraid, although about that Aegis, it's gone now. Tiger channels out the freezing field. They're going to look for it a second time. Can they find the kill? Pulverize is there. Mr. Jeans does go down, and they execute that one perfectly. Tier 3 still standing. Huge kill onto the Void Spirit, but they would like some more. Satoshi's going to try and charge for it. He did catch up to Mini, but now, yeah, you needed that Pulverize for the Void Spirit, but now it means you don't have it to catch the Morph.
Yeah, just really awkward, actually, with the way that the Void Spirit died, and the stolen remnants from Crawler as well being kind of problematic, even though it looks like not going to have to worry about those stolen Rubik remnants any longer. but it's really hard for Nuages to actually walk up in Overgrowth versus a Rubik on Alpha's own high ground. So really, Mr. Jeans didn't have the help that he probably needed in that situation. Just because if you walk up in Overgrowth, well, then you're going to get return Overgrowth, and then it's the same outcome with a lot more dead heroes. Even though, look at this. Well, they're underneath Alpha Vision, but this is so much damage, and look at that.
Oh,
The Stolen
my
Avatos combo, it's beautiful. And Tiger, oh, he's on the run. He's got a 4-staff. He might actually just be fine, but still, 2 cores down. Alpha were not ready for that jump.
hmm. I mean, they thought that they were baiting Heiko in, and in fairness to them, they were, right? He didn't see the Tiny coming, but then, well, Mini jumps in, as you said, Stolen Avatos just destroys whatever plan they had, and Tiger's lucky to get away. With him now in position, maybe they can try something, because Kid has moved his way... Uh-oh. Moved his way over. He just got clipped by the Bushwhack, though, and they're going to go in. They've got the taunt. They've got the lockdown. Just an absolutely what felt like random Bushwhack ET, but it nets them a huge kill. Tier 2 tower, and after what happened last time, yeah, maybe they shy away from the high ground push this time around, but big swing and net worth going their way.
No, fantastic. It's what we like to call a quiet move. Really, it just looked like he was repositioning, like he was trying to inch closer to the tree line, and then it just catches you. Just it's not a sign of aggression in the hoodwink when that Bushwhack lands. And look at this. Some smoke on smoke action, and now, well, maybe Jupiter just goes down. Looks like a pretty impossible situation, and with the rest of the team already splitting towards that bottom tier 2, and no revenge this time.
Yeah, but the hoodwink eats the death instead of... someone like the Void Spirit who was kind of in the area as well, so they'll be okay with it. Heiko, what is this? Boots of Bearing coming out? Yeah, there it is. Okay, so he's got Boots of Bearing, he's got his Helmet of the Overlord, he's working towards a Blink Dagger, so the Beastmaster remains relevant, but right now, the fight's coming their way. They smoke. This TP's gonna pop that smoke, though, and Mini's in some trouble. Dropped low immediately. Pulverize is there, but they are going to be able to heal him up. The Overgrowth now comes through, and Mini's going to start to fight. Who do they focus, though? At this point, Mini just actually wants to get safe, which means his teammates have to do a lot of the heavy lifting, but Mr. Jeans is on the backline. They're able to take down Tiger. Now the Roar. Going to be deployed onto the Templar Assassin. They'll pick off Kid as well. And Alpha, I mean... unfortunately for them, they can't pull it off, ET, but that was perfect. A 5-man smoke pops just as the single highest value target TP's in front of you. They just didn't have the damage to finish the job.
Yeah, and Mini just great reaction. If he doesn't get that strength morph off, the Alpha look so much better. They live a lot longer, as well as they were very patient on NoRunes. Heiko gets to entirely kill the Rubik, doesn't have to pop anything for it either. Gets to save his Primal Roar as soon as the Rubik's down. Then Wages can use the Overgrowth without having to worry about it getting stolen. And then the fight's pretty much broken wide open at that point. It's where you would have hoped for Alpha to wait for maybe that BKB on TA to be finished as well, so him and the Primal Beast have that little timing together. But they just thought they were stronger than they were, and they get punished for it. And now, well, there's going to be Glyph up at the very least, but Glyph is actually... they Glyph bottom? So now, oh no. There's no Glyph for this next tier 3. A next successful push from NoRunes, which is probably going to come after this next Aegis, is just going to work. Alpha have to be real high strung right now. If they lose any heroes, it's just high ground.
Oh, Snow, you are wandering into dangerous territory. There's that Hunter's Mark applied to him. Sharpshooter channeled out in full. And they just wipe him, and now without the Tiny, can they really afford to take a fight here? They do spot Noagus, and...
it's time to run, though.
Yeah, I don't know if they can be here. There's going to be the Roar. It's going to be deployed onto Tiger, but this is just to isolate Kid. There's no backup. The rest of the lineup is going after the kill into the Beastmaster, and at this point, even if they get it, it's not going to matter. Mini's now into the fight. He's got a full Scotty up on himself, so Satoshi is not getting away. Oh... and if you're Noagus and Heiko there, this is the point. If this were a pub, you'd be typing 5-man for what? So that's not gonna... Mini, are you... Mini, Mini, come on, man.
I mean, it works.
He's gonna get it, yeah.
Disgusting.
Yeah, he doesn't know what the word mercy means. Just goes all the way in. Triple kill for your morph as well, and... ET, now we come back to the awkwardness of having used that glyph earlier on. They can't buy time for the respawns.
No, this is just going to be relatively free, and we'll have to see what Roche Timer looks like, and it will not be kind to NoRunes, which is good news for Alpha. And the jump, now Mr. Jeans going to get Frostbite. Great Frostbite from Tiger, but again, not enough damage, and now it's kind of an evacuation story. And Mini, okay, he lays out, he just gets it, has the Manta still, now Tiger's gonna go down. I don't feel like Mini should be able to walk out of this one. He's really running low on mana, but it's enough cover. And without a Blink Dagger, Satoshi can't close the gap unless he hits with that initial onslaught. So everybody walks away. And now, Kid, you gotta be careful,
Oh,
bro.
he's in trouble. Stunned up, roared, hit by Hunter's Mark. Stolen roar from Crawler is admirable, but it's not enough. And with Kid dead with no buyback, by the way, 1,000 gold short. I'm not sure NoRunes even know that he doesn't have buyback. If they did, I feel like they'd be pushing back in, but they do have to wait for creep waves to come up behind them here. But once they get up onto the high ground again and realize Kid is not buying back, they could potentially just kind of sweep their way through for the Megas.
No, it's a real easy rotation because, again, no Glyph. Scotty, Mini is just really feeling unkillable right now. And with Heiko not getting initiated on, he'd probably look for a BKB next, but that was also a blink reveal of the Beastmaster. Mini's in.
Oh
Okay.
my god, Mini.
Just goes forward. Just keeps going forward.
It does mean that they're not going to be able to go after those Megas after all, but... Uh-oh. Satoshi? Are you sure about this? Overgrowth is going to be applied. He did throw out the BKB, but he loses his teammate in the process. Tiger goes down, and now Snow tosses Mini back. They need more damage onto him, though. He's already morphing strength. They do have him silenced up, but it just doesn't matter because now the reinforcements are arriving. Mr. Jeans jumping in. They're going to look for Snow first. They hit him up with the silence. They'll take him down. And now Satoshi, stunned up by the adaptive strike, doesn't have any way back. He already used his BKB to go after that kill onto the Treant Protector, so he is absolutely naked in that fight. And now Kid, yeah, you have got to get the hell back here. You're the only thing between your team and a loss. He is able to fall back, ET, but the decision-making from Alpha just looks a little bit too aggressive.
Yeah, they keep getting punished. They keep on finding themselves in situations where they're overextended, and yeah, look at that.
There it is.
Game's over. They just say there wasn't enough time. Just feels like 4 deaths on the TA, and suddenly we just got off that train. We got off that easy track, and of course, during all of it, Heiko is still fantastic on the Beastmaster. He stacks for himself, he kills Roche by himself, he gets an insane timing of his helmet, the Overlord, and I mean, NoRunes just took that and kind of ran with it. I mean, it wasn't the prettiest morph game for 15, 20 minutes, and then all it takes is 1 or 2 missed dives, an overestimation, not enough damage from Alpha, and then it blows up in their face.
Yeah, I mean, they were looking okay for a decent amount of time here. Looking at the graph, they weren't exactly in the lead, but they were kind of hanging in there, looking good. Kids Farm was amazing, but you just hit that turning point, right? We talked about it. They had the advantage with the TA's early items, but they had to press that advantage. Otherwise, it was going to go away, and once it's gone, it's not coming back.
Yeah, and it's just sad because I think if Alpha wait 1 more item, if they get 1 item a little bit earlier, I think the Primal BKB, for instance, if they have it as soon as that tiny blink is up, then maybe they hit that curve just right, and maybe they find themselves in a much easier game. But unfortunately, I think they missed their first power spike by maybe 2 or 3 minutes, then their second power spike, which is gonna come just anytime now, just 1 more item, 1 more component of the BKB, we're waiting for it, we're waiting for it. We die 3 times, and then the game just feels over at that point. And then, of course, I think the misuse of the glyph really ended up biting them in the back, but that's just what happens when you're playing versus heroes like Beastmasters. We always talk about it. It's the threat level. It's the stakes of the game. It's where Beastmaster will just roll you. And I think Alpha spent maybe a little bit too much time focused on Mini. A Mini who 10, 1, and 11, you know, his end stats look great, but really, he was just tanking spells. He was just tanking against aggression and attention from Alpha for most of the game. And then at the end, he gets to be the carry. But, I mean, all this man really did in team fights was Strength Morph. And that's enough, because if Alpha don't kill him, they don't get their prize, and then Mr. Jeans and Heiko just carry the rest of the fight.
Mm-hmm. Do also want to point out one thing, not even remotely relevant, just kind of interesting. Saw that they dropped at the same time in the game itself. I did not realize that NoRunes had actually stolen the Specialist Array from Alpha when it did drop, so both of their supports ended up having one. Again, is it relevant? No, it's just kind of funny to see 2 of them in their neutral slots, but that's, you know, to tie it back in, right? You had all this space to farm. You had Kid taking some of these jungle camps, but they couldn't maintain control of the area. So, you know, a support gets to come in and steal your neutrals from you. It's the way it goes.
Certainly is. I think now, game 2, Alpha, need to look for something to play around. Maybe they look to steal the Treant for themselves. They're probably going to have first pick. Or, well, no runs have choice, so maybe they just run it back with the Treant Protector. But I think maybe it's time to start looking for that hero, especially if Alpha are trying to save themselves. Honestly, no runs might be a little bit better than us in the lobby here, guys. Maybe we can't let them get Tree. I don't know, but we'll see. Game 2.
Game 2 will have some adjustments, one way or another, so see what it has in store. For now, though, going to take a quick break. You know, we got some ads to play. Know you love those oh so much, but we'll be back with the start of the Game 2 draft in just a couple of minutes.